He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
I'll keep my freedom, I'll keep my guns, try to keep my money and my religion too. Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the ClayDouglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that. I'm going to keep my big BA, keep my friends the same, keep the government out of my business, and y'all can keep the change.
He is the free American, ClayDouglas.
We know what we need. We know who to blame.
Catch the Free American Hour, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
I'll keep the USA and y'all can keep the change.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, ClayDouglas. My guest today is JohnMoore1. You may have heard him on the radio as JohnMoore1. He first fought terrorism in 1967. He's still fighting it today. Walking patrol in Vietnam at night alone, he searched for terrorist booby traps. He searched for terrorist bombs in his Jeep and saw what happened to those who did not find them. JR flew 57 combat missions over Vietnam and Cambodia, many of those being hit by enemy gunfire. He went on to join the Green Berets at Fort Bragg, where he trained to invade the Middle East. He also did classified studies of Middle East terrorists for the Special Forces. Hello, John. How are you?
Clay, good morning. Good to be here. Thank you.
Nice to have you here, sir. Now, I want to start out, first of all, how did you get into radio? You got your own radio show.
Right. Well, a friend of mine, one of my a guy I served with in Vietnam, another intelligence analyst, I was an intelligence analyst, he gave me a book about the late 1980s, about 1986 or 87, The Unseen Hand by Ralph Epperson.
Yes.
I know. When I finished reading the book, I decided I needed to come out of my little private life I was having and get politically active, and which I did. Beginning in 1988, I started getting active in Second Amendment issues primarily, and gun rights. By 1994, I decided that I wanted to have a bigger outreach and have more impact, and I thought I would try becoming a radio talk show host, which in January 1995 I did become a radio talk show host with WGNU 920 on the dial in St. Louis, Missouri.
What year was that?
1995.
That's interesting.
I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I did an audition. They said, let's go ahead and do a weekly show, and I started my weekly show then. I've been with Republic Broadcasting now. I think I've lost track. You're number 6 or 7. And it's a lot of fun. It's a daily show I do now, Monday through Friday, 0700 to 0800 Central Time. It's primarily an East Coast drive time show. And I do guest appearances on other networks like yours and Genesis and various other networks to help get the word out.
And what's the word? Now, Ralph Epperson, I happen to know Ralph. We disagree on some points. He thinks it's all Masons. I believe the Israelis or the Zionists play a major role in this. But you can talk about the Masons, but you can't talk about the Jews.
Well, if the locomotive is coming at you at 80 miles an hour, does it matter whether it's green or blue?
It's interesting. I've just listened, and I've got it up on my website. I've just been listening to a film called Propaganda that was made in North Korea, and it's pretty interesting, John. It's accurate. You can hear it up on my site, but they're really talking about us being enslaved. It's almost like I'm hearing North Korea echo what I've been trying to tell people, that you're a debt slave. You know, I mean, they have refined the art of slavery to the point that you don't know that you don't know that you're a slave.
Well, self-enslavement is probably the best, because you don't have to have an overseer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, making sure your slaves are behaving themselves.
That's right, and that's why we have the most voluntary income tax service in the world.
Well, it's brilliant. I mean, whoever set that up in 1912, and since then, you have to admit they're brilliant in terms of understanding human nature. I own a copy of the U.S. tax code. The copy I've got is not quite 10,000 pages, tissue-thin paper. And you only need to read one page to understand all of it, and that's in the index. And the index, they list all of the taxes for which you could possibly ever be liable for. And guess what's not in there, Clay?
What's that?
Income tax, personal income tax. It's not there. There's no liability for personal income tax. That's the starting point for any tax, whether it's tobacco or alcohol or whatever it might be, is liability. It states the liability that a person or a company could have for tax. Well, there is no liability for income tax. It's simply not even there.
Yeah, show me the law. By David Von Kleist, who, by the way, has expatriated out to Argentina. A lot of people are doing that. Now, John, you know, you and I started about the same time. I started broadcasting on worldwide shortwave in 1994. Started the Free American magazine there, and I had I certainly had interesting people on: Lynn Meredith, Irwin Schiff, Boston Tea Party, you know, and people are asking me, well, Clay, is this true? I mean, is there no law? It's all a scam? I said, well, yeah, but, you know, are these people right? Are these people right? Yeah,
well,
they're right, but they're all in jail.
I wrote a very nice letter, Clay. I wrote a very nice letter to the district director of the Internal Revenue Service, the district that I live in, asking him 3 questions. This was in the summer of 1994. And I said, I asked the 3 questions. First of all, what economic activity have I engaged in that's created a federal tax liability? The second question, which specific tax am I liable for, and where is it stated my liability in the tax code? And third question, which IRS form should I complete and submit to satisfy this tax? Well, that was 18 years ago, Clay, and I still have not received an answer from the Internal Revenue Service.
Well, what I've told people, I said, yeah, you know, everybody, what Irwin Schiff, Lynn Meredith, what everybody's telling you is right, but it's a little like going up to Al Capone and going, hey, Al, I found out that extortion is not legal, and I ain't paying you no more. I said, you know, he sends his goons out, they bust your kneecaps. The IRS sends out the IRS, you know, they take your life away from you. But it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
Now, the 20th century, you started broadcasting in the 20th century.
Right.
And we were getting a lot of truth out. I mean, my magazine was being circulated in Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. My radio show was on worldwide shortwave. And we entered the 21st century, and everything changed. For me, especially.
Right.
Because somebody tried to kill me. You know, whether it was an accident, whether it was, you know, was it a doctor scam, whatever it was, doesn't matter. It's like rolling into the 21st century. The 20th century was the most bloody century in history.
We're aware of this, true, yes.
More people have died from wars in the 20th century than any time, and all the wars probably before.
Most likely.
And what is the 21st century? We are in the 21st century. It's supposed to be the end of the world, according, you know, that's they want you to be afraid. Say, Planet X is coming and all that, and I certainly want to talk to you about that because we've got that up. I've been talking about Planet X, Nibiru, for about 20 years. I wrote about it 40 years ago, about what happened the last time it passed in a fiction book.
Right.
And you are saying that the military or military families are being told to prepare bug-out bags for this arrival. This coincides with December 21st, supposedly being the end of the Mayan calendar. What's happening?
It's not necessarily related to the 21st of December, the first day of winter.
Okay.
But here's what happened, Clay. My source a week ago, yesterday, told me that military dependents, now they're not all military dependents, these are service people who are part of continuity of government contingency planning, which is maybe 1 or 2% of the military. The rest of the military is not part of COG, continuity of government contingency planning. They're the only ones being briefed, and they're being told after they sign a non-disclose agreement that they need to have a bug out, one carry-on bag of luggage and one piece of luggage, and they may get as much as 2 weeks notice, they may not, before they're ordered to leave their homes on the East Coast, abandoning all their other personal property, clothing, appliances, furniture, and so forth. Now, this kind of warning, I don't believe will be given 6 months in advance, Clay. I think more likely time frame is 120 days or less, possibly a lot less.
Now, is this just on the East Coast?
Well, so far it looks like it's mainly an East Coast event, and it's probably connected to the Canary Islands. Planet X will impact the entire planet. The Canary Islands are particularly at risk. There is a ridge of rock and dirt there that previously has fallen into the Atlantic Ocean, causing a tidal wave that took out the coast of North America. There's been tremendous increase in volcanic and seismic activity in the Canary Islands, which, since we're getting no reports from the Gulf Coast or the Pacific Coast, we're focusing more on the Canary Islands right now as one of the effects of the 10th planet. So that's where we're looking, and that's what we're focused on right now. One of my co-hosts on Republic Broadcasting has a high-level intelligence source looking at August 17th as the first opportunity for it to go down. And then another date in September, which I don't recall. I'll be talking to Mike Harris later today to get more clarification on that. But Mike says he has a high-level intelligence source that's giving him August 17th as one of the first possible dates.
Things are heating up right now. Now, what about these deep underground bases? I mean, those are scattered all over the world, so obviously somebody's preparing for something.
Right. They first confirmed the exact location, began tracking the 10th planet in 1979 with the Pioneer 10 space probe. They started working with the engineers and developing blueprints in 1980 and 81 and building these bases beginning in 81 and 82, which most of that construction is now done. They continue to construct and probably will up to the last moment. The majority of it's been done for a couple of years now, and they've been very liberal with spending our tax dollars, Clay, to build shelters for themselves, which we won't have access to. And they're fully stocked with freeze-dried food, video movies, basketball courts, hot tubs, everything that you could ever want for a very comfortable life underground for years if necessary.
Well, they've written it in stone. They think they want to reduce the world's population to a manageable 500 million. I guess that'd be, 490 million slaves and 10 million elitists.
More or less, and you're right, it is written in the story. The Georgia Guidestones do record that in several languages what their ultimate goal is.
Now, I've been trying to fight. I mean, I filmed the first Homeland Security meeting. I heard John Brinkerhoff lecturing law enforcement. That's on my film, True Face of FEMA. In case of a single outbreak of smallpox in a major metropolitan area, a nuclear attack, a earthquake of sufficient magnitude like along the New Madrid fault line, we'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people, because some of them just won't follow orders. Now, this is lecturing law enforcement. This is when FEMA rolled into Homeland Security, and Homeland Security has become nothing more than the KGB, and it's run by dual citizens. Homeland Security is run by Israelites, dual citizens here. And oh, by the way, they don't have to go if they're immigrating from Israel or they're coming over here to visit from Israel, they don't have to go through TSA. They don't have to go through the check.
Really?
Yeah, Janet Napolitano got them a special pass. They'll have a little electronic pass that allows them to avoid being radiated. and you know, the Jews themselves are the ones that are bragging about their control of the media, and they're obviously being used to the media to instigate this war with Iran. Certainly, you know, I mean, first of all, I know that the Gulf of Tonkin was a lie. I know that Iraq having weapons is a lie. We're actually the bad guys in that. We're the ones that supplied Saddam Hussein with all the biological weapons to wage war on Iran.
That's right, we did.
And so the war in the war in Afghanistan, and hell, that's the same thing as the war when Vietnam was about, isn't it?
Well,
opium poppies, a little bit of opium poppies.
Well, the former football player Pat Tillman, he learned about our guarding, the American troops guarding the poppies, and he was so outraged he was going to go public with it, and he was probably murdered for his efforts.
Exactly. And after I ran the building number 7 on the cover of my March 2004 issue, asking why did that fall, suddenly, you know, in April, my phone was tapped and I was set up for an accident, and I kept drugged for 3 months. Now, you ride a motorcycle.
I do.
So, you know, I've been riding for 50 years, more, maybe.
Okay.
and you know, I'm a real good rider. I mean, I've been doing this my whole life, you know, and
Right.
I called home and asked my son, where do you need me to go next, son? Where are you, Dad? North side of Phoenix, Sacred Skin Tattoo Parlor. This is May 20th, 2004.
Right.
The month after we learned that George Bush had allowed the NSA to tap everybody's phones. And, you know, NSA didn't tap anybody's phones. They farmed it out to 2 Israeli companies, Amdocs and Converse.
Right.
And my son says, where are you, Dad? North side of Phoenix. Go down 24th Street to McDowell, turn left, go to the wheel shop. It's right there. Okay, see you later. 2 blocks before I got to McDowell, I got T-boned. I got hit. Woman came out of nowhere. I was the only motorcyclist on the street, and hit me hard enough to roll a Road King over me 3 times, smashed my head against the curb. I ride with a cowboy hat, I don't wear a helmet.
Right. Right.
And we rushed me to the hospital and kept me drugged for 3 months for 3 broken ribs. Now, they said I had a severe head injury, so they fed me Halcyon, Haldol, Valium, morphine for 3 months. I got no memory of 3 months in the hospital.
I bet you don't.
And when I got out, you need to get guardianship, you need to make arrangements for long-term care, make sure he takes this Depakote. If I'd kept doing that, I would have been dead. I would have
a drooling idiot in a wheelchair.
That's right. And
Right.
that's what they had planned for me. And
Right.
basically my answer was, the only thing I need, a joint and a Harley. Take your medicine and take your, no, I'm not going into a nursing home. No, I'm not taking that drugs. No, I'm not doing that.
Well, good for you, Clay.
I've been under attack ever since. Ever since. And one of my magazines, motorcycle magazine, Thunder Rider, Arizona's Thunder Riders, Arizona's premier motorcycle magazine, that was still going after the accident. My sons kept that going. So I get a visit from 2 guys in blue pinstripe suits, say they're CIA. We don't like you publishing that motorcycle magazine. Why the motorcycle magazine? The Free America's the one I expose you spook types in. No, it's you paint a rosy picture riding motorcycles. We don't like that. Translation, you still got a source of income. We don't like that. And they've tried to kill it down. I had that magazine sold for $1 million, half of it.
Right.
And that was on Thursday. They put a press release out on Friday. Monday I walk in and I got no deals. Clay, I can't go through the deal. They're threatening to impeach me. They've contacted every stockholder in the company to tell them what a right-wing radical you are. Where is that coming from? It's coming from Homeland Security. It's coming from Homeland Security. I knew I probably made a mistake as soon as the words left my mouth when I referred to 9/11 as an exaggerated case of Jewish lightning, John. But they had just killed, the year before, Bill Cooper and I were going to put our Veritas...
Did you know Bill?
Yes, sir, I did.
I wish I would have got to know the guy. I truly wish I could have.
He was one of the few talk show hosts that he liked. He didn't care much for Alex. And we had talked the week before, or 2 weeks before that, about putting our magazines together. I was setting up, I was getting ready to, I was doing really well. I mean, I was on worldwide shortwave.
Right.
And I had a lot of advertisers. Today I don't have any advertisers. Every advertiser's been contacted. Every bookstore was contacted. We got the magazine was kicked out of Barnes and Noble, was kicked out of Books A Million after it stopped. I couldn't do it, and it's hard to do anything when you're being drugged into unconsciousness.
No.
Now, this all happened in the 21st century. I think the bankers are being panicked. We are having an effect. People like you are coming on and you're talking about the control of the banks. And we've got the Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street. We got a few things started, but they're all being subverted and they're all being misdirected under basically, communist plan that they do in every area. Any country they take over, they go after three classes of people in order: the farmers first, the intelligentsia next, and the soldiers, like yourself, like me, that are still might be loyal to the old regime.
Right.
That's the situation I think we're in now, and I think it's going to start getting a little worse. They're going after the farms. They're going after the farmers, and they started doing that when they took away our #1 cash crop in the 30s.
Which was?
Hemp.
Well, I just found out recently the real reason why they went after hemp and alcohol both, and that's the ability to make alcohol from hemp, and the ability to make any alcohol at all, because that was all Rockefeller money that wanted a monopoly on running these cars and trucks on petroleum products. It was Rockefeller money that funded the women's temperance movement before World War I.
That's right.
And it was Rockefeller money that funded the pretty funny film, actually, Reefer Madness, which is really it is a hoot to watch this thing. But they didn't care, really. Nobody cared if Negro jazz musicians were getting stoned in Harlem. I mean, that was really a big zero. What they really cared about was the ability to make alcohol from hemp, which it does very effectively. And of course, hemp is also a very good source of material to make fabric with, which threaten the cotton industry, and to make paper with which threaten the timber industry. So hemp presented threats to some very big money interests.
Yeah. By the way, people don't understand. I financed Jack Harrow while he wrote "Emperor Wears No Clothes." Yeah, I welcomed high times to the paraphernalia industry. So, I know the whole story of hemp. I thought it'd be legal. I wrote books about it 40 years ago. This is part of that. Why is our #1 cash crop illegal to have in your pocket? If a man with a badge can walk up to you, and you're a police officer, let me ask you this. You've been a police officer.
No, I was always a criminal defense investigator, not working with a badge. I had a badge, but on the defense team.
Oh, okay, good.
But
if a man with a badge can walk up to you and say, "What's that you got in your pocket, son? What have you been smoking, son?" Then you live in a police state.
Well, here's how you can tell the real reason why hemp is still illegal. It's possible to grow hemp that has no chemical in it to make you stone, THC. Despite the fact that you can, it's still illegal to grow the plant that does not have the hallucinogenic drug in it, THC. That's how you can tell who's really behind making it illegal.
Yes. And I've done stories. As a matter of fact, this story I published in my biker magazine, being published out of Miami. It's called Riders Exchange. and I got a hold of a little bit of documentation on Operation Watchtower. Now, Operation Watchtower was George Bush as CIA director's little operation using special forces to go down in Colombia to build radio towers. The towers were used to guide planes into Walbrook Air Force Base, where they were met by Manuel Noriega's brother and Del Cid and Michael Harari, Mossad, and I believe one CIA man. They were met there. They brought in 100 planes. The cargo, according to Colonel Edward P. Cotolo, was cocaine. I sent that document to Bill Clinton, and the gentleman that was doing life in Walpole Prison, they murdered his wife, framed him for the murder, got him committed to a life sentence in Walpole Prison. He started laughing at me, and I said, "What are you laughing about?" He said, "Well, they ain't going to do nothing. Clinton's running against Bush." I said, "Bush is our drug dealer. Shouldn't we get him out of here? Clinton ain't going to do nothing."
Oh, yeah.
He was in charge of a little place called Mena, Arkansas. You would hear a lot about this. Yeah.
That's before you had that knowledge, right, Clay?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
You know what Bill Clinton's Arkansas Highway Patrol Trooper Security Team nickname for him was when he was governor of Arkansas?
Hoover?
Snowman.
Snowman? Yes.
Snowman, right. Yeah, Bill Clinton's a cocaine addict.
As the song goes, they're moving it into Telluride, you know, at one of Clinton's partners up there.
I think when Clinton spent the summer of, I think it was 1972 at the Kremlin, I believe that's when the deal was made. I think they promised him all the cocaine and women he could enjoy the rest of his life if he would become their guy.
And then the Jews slipped Monica Lewinsky in on him.
Well, for some reason, Clinton must have pissed off the wrong people. And that's what Monica's role was to get him straightened out.
This is, and here we've got Barack Obama. Now, our Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who's under severe attack, the ACLU is coming after him. You know, he just did a press conference here that says Obama's birth certificate is fraudulent.
It is.
We've got the banks. Somebody just said that Wells Fargo, HSBC, of course Barclays are going through something called Lepore right now. And it's a big scandal. But, come on, the scandal is, as George Bush walked out of that swinging door on the White House, that revolving door, he handed $2 trillion to the banks. And let's see, now, the banks print money, they loan it back to us, he gives it back to the banks, so they got $2 trillion that we still owe interest on.
Sure, of course.
This doesn't quite sound fair to me, and people are actually getting up in arms against these bankers all over the world. I think they're getting scared. I think the people we're reaching, there are people we're reaching here, and you know, folks, I mean, it ain't being anti-Semitic. If I tell you there's a crook that's a Jew, you know, there's also just as many crooks out there masquerading as Christians, you know?
Absolutely.
And to go out and fight and kill a billion Muslims, I just don't. I don't think that's called for.
Well, we should let the Muslims have their little piece of God's green earth and leave them alone and let them leave us alone.
Now we're approaching the half hour here. My guest is John J.R. Moore, and you can. His website's linked up here on freeamerican.com. Now, John, one of the I want to talk about some solutions. You know, I've been reporting on this as long as you have, since 1994.
Right.
And I came up with one solution, and immediately